Hey, what's up, blue collar business owner? Welcome back to the Blue Collar Prosperity Podcast. I'm your host, Paul Maskill, where we focus on helping guide you to have a prosperous blue collar business. Today, we have with us Clif Savage. Are you a business owner or C suite executive looking to solve the issues of finding mismatched talent once and for all? Do you want to attract ideal team members that will enjoy working with you and your team, and vice versa? Do you want to take back control of your operations and not worry about someone quitting on you, even if they were toxic to the team? Enter Clif Savage of Service Leader Systems. He is here today to share with you what's worked for him and his clients. So that is Clif Savage. Welcome, Clif. Thank you so much for being here. What's going on today?
Hey, Paul. Thank you, man. Yeah, no, that's a great introduction.
Love
Thanks
it.
for
That's
having me.
it's definitely the first one I've ever had sent over where it's question based. So you definitely got people's attention. So we're gonna dive into all that good stuff today. But before we do, tell our listeners a little bit about you, how you got to where you are today. How's your journey going?
Oh, man. I guess a little bit about me. The best way to put it is I am best in the background. That is where I thrive. Being someone that connects the dots, sees patterns, sees gaps, and comes up with pretty strong solutions and helps with implementing them too. That's where I thrive. I just love, and I've just been drawn to it, whether I would love it or not, problems in all types of organizations and in manners of life, and just find ways to improve the inefficiencies and improve people in the grand scheme of things.
Awesome. Well, you're speaking my language because that's also me. I love systems and processes. I love taking things that aren't working and making them work. Love diving into things that our clients don't know what's going on, but they know something's broken, and then we can kind of crack that code and figure it out, take the time to deep dive. So we're going to get into recruiting and training, retaining, all the things that you do for the blue collar businesses out there, all the home service business owners out there. So let's start at the top. So let's start at the journey of somebody when they first are thinking about, I'm going to go join that team. So
Mm.
I've seen it, you've seen it. A lot of times, business owners, and I was guilty of this initially until I realized we needed a system, being a system person. But a lot of times we only recruit when we need someone like tomorrow. It's like, guys, so and so quit, moved to Montana, and I need somebody tomorrow. First warm body with a pulse, got the job. So obviously that doesn't work, can become a vicious cycle. But give our listeners some insights into just like what is a recruiting strategy for blue collar companies and why do we actually need that system in the first place?
I mean, biggest thing is recruiting strategy at the simplest level is if you already have invested in your people and your systems to give them the right tools, then it's a matter of just documenting and putting it out there on the World Wide Web. But as we know, many people aren't in that place. So that's a deeper dive of the areas they need to improve before they can show off why someone should go work for them. I think that's the biggest problem that people struggle with. Almost to some degree in terms of marketing and why some people can't find good clients is because people don't want to work with them for one reason or another. Same thing with employees. People are giving you a reason why they don't want to work with you. You make it hard for them. You don't make it attractive to them. And because of that, you're finding it hard to find the right people. So yeah, I think once you got it in place though, it's just share it and then it'll take care of itself.
So let's dive into that and what to share and what we should do and what we shouldn't do. I know you and I have had a lot of conversations about like the importance of brand and the importance of being an attractive place to work and having the reviews. And when people actually see like, oh, that looks like a cool place, I'd actually want to work there. So what are some like simple steps our listeners can go to really improve that image, that brand of their company so they can start to then, when we go to the World Wide Web and start posting these jobs and start recruiting, it's a lot easier. What are some things we can do today?
And I think one of the biggest things, when there's actually an employee that wants to rant and rave about their employer, which is far and few between, unfortunately, it's because their employer went above and beyond to take care of that person. And I'm not talking about their salary. I'm not talking about their benefits. I'm not even talking about some of the surprise gift cards and other things they might get. But it's the fact that the employers put themselves in their employees' shoes and tries to solve problems, either nip it in the bud right away or look ahead to see what to solve before it becomes a problem for the employee, right? We talk about bottlenecks in business. On a management level, we know that can affect the bottom line, but ultimately what it does is negatively affecting our people. And so, but a lot of times we forget that, right? Because we're not feeling that pain right away. We're feeling the after effects of what it does to our cash flow and our bank accounts and other numbers, but we're not taking into account how it makes our people feel. So I think this is one of the biggest things. If employers will really take the time to invest in what it's going to take to fix the bottlenecks, to fix the frustrations, the runaround stuff that your employees are having to deal with on a day-to-day basis, they're going to be a lot happier. They're going to look forward to going to work a lot better than dealing with the same, bullshit every day. Knowing they wish they could fix it, but they don't have the power to fix it, and they don't feel like they have the voice to fix it. I think that's one of the biggest things that people miss, management misses, right? Because they want to do all these other fancy things and big gestures and whatever, but we're not solving the day-to-day headaches that mostly is the reason that pisses an employee off to want to go look for another opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, it's so true, especially with kind of the next generation coming through. I know, and we've talked about it on this podcast too, of, a lot of times historically, the mindset is, well, that's their job. That's what they get paid to do. They can suck it up or go work somewhere else, right? They're just like, screw
Yeah,
you type of mentality. But when your employees actually have a voice and they are comfortable and confident that they can share that in a environment that is safe, and then things actually get done,
yep,
money is irrelevant. And you know this better than anybody because you help with recruiting and retaining. Like you see all the surveys, when they survey people, it's like, what's the most important thing about your job? And money's like, I don't know, five, six, or seven. It's the other
yeah,
things of like, man, my boss just doesn't understand me. And that's usually what's ironic is the founder of the company usually started their own company because they were that person. They were like,
100%,
I'm sick of Cliff. Cliff
100%.
doesn't hear me. Cliff doesn't, I always got to do this thing and he never has this ready. And so still works there. He shouldn't work here.
Yep,
And then all of a sudden we're in survival mode. So we got that fixed. We're going on this journey. So we're listening to our people. People are excited to work here. We're putting it out on the World Wide Web. Now we actually need a system in place to recruit consistently
yep,
because as you kind of alluded to, it's just like marketing. So
yeah.
why do we need an actual system, and what does that actual system look like once we get everything else solved initially?
Yeah. I mean, from personal experience working in so many businesses in the past, from contracting companies, manufacturing and franchise, organizations, that's another bottleneck. People wanted to find good employees, good coworkers to bring onto the team, but they were doing it the old fashioned way. They'd either, push pen and paper to try and get some flyers out. They might put a sign up and hope someone sees it and cares enough to walk in the door and fill out an application. Or even nowadays, well, we'll just, pay Indeed or whatever platform, just post something here or there, right? Maybe or we're hiring picture on social media that, doesn't have any engagement anyways. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of energy. And their best efforts and best intention is going to get burnt out within a couple of days because you don't have a great way to deploy that message, right? And then you don't have a great way to manage the communications when people start applying, and you need to stay in touch with them, right? Just like a great customer experience, going back to taking care of your employees, whether it's an actual touch point from an employee or there's some automation involved from a system, those candidates need to be responded back immediately. Because just like if they called you up looking for your services, you didn't pick up the phone, what are they doing now? The moment they hang up, they're calling somebody else. You don't even have a chance to call them back because they're already on the line with someone else.
100%. And it's so true. And a lot of times business owners, we've all been guilty of it. We get a mindset, well, nobody wants to work anywhere. No one, it's just impossible to find people. I don't know where they all went, but it's impossible to find people. To your point, like we've never historically really put an emphasis on it like we do in marketing. Like if our phone rings and it's potential revenue, we're like, get it right away. If we get an email from somebody looking for a job and we're not hiring that second, you're like, whatever, screw that guy. And he's on to the next one. Or maybe we are hiring and he calls and we're not that polite to him, or we don't
Yep.
respond to him right away. Like you said, they filled out the application. They're excited enough to spend time to fill out the application. But if they don't hear from you within, I don't know, 30 minutes to an hour, they're just going to go down the line of like, if they're looking for plumber jobs, they're going to be like, all right, apply to that one. All right, apply to that one, apply to that one. And they just keep going. So what are some other ways we can and really get in the mindset of we need to set ourselves apart from all the other people hiring? What are some things we can do out there? I know you said, there's automation and there's phone calls, but like, what are a couple things that you see work really well? Super simple things.
I mean, super simple things is one, making the application process super simple. I think that's where a lot of companies get off, track. And if, a lot of the research that we do on other social media platforms and viewing other people's feedback from an employee's world view of employers and how they mismanage the whole employment process is that they make the hiring process way too cumbersome. And the company hasn't even sold themselves on the employees of why they should work for them. You said it earlier. If a client's calling or potential client's calling, that's money coming in the door. Yeah, but then I ask you, well, who's fulfilling the work to get that money actually paid? And we act like it's just this old lethargic system of like, well, if they want to come work here, they'll figure out, they'll put in the time, they'll type in their resume, they'll put in the application, and then they'll retype in everything again a third time and fourth time and jump through all these stupid hoops when they don't even know who you are. They don't even know why they should go work for you.
Yeah, and it's so true because if you think about like all the education, knowledge, training out there for marketing is like make it as easy as possible for your customer to do business with you. When they're
Right.
filling out a web form, make it as super simple. Name, email, phone number.
Boom,
That's all
boom,
we
boom.
need. We can get the rest once we call you or email you. But when it comes to recruiting, and a lot of times we'll just set it up based on whatever platform you're using. Well, that was like the default on Indeed, so we just set it up. Someone checks
Right.
it once a week, and then we'll see what happens from there. So going along this journey, we've got recruiting figured out. We've got systems in place. We're eager. We're following up with people. We're making it easy. We're doing all those things. Now comes another hurdle where you and I see a lot of businesses get stuck is, well, Clif said he had 10 years of experience and I don't have time to train him and I don't have the training set up. And if he can't figure it out on his own, then we'll probably just have to find something else. We see way too many companies relying on all of the quote unquote experience that someone else has instead of actually building a training platform to teach people how we like to do things. What are our standards? What are our processes? So when it
Yep.
comes to training,
Mm-hmm.
what are some things that we should do, shouldn't do, and where does the ball get dropped a lot of times?
Well, one of the biggest places, once they've been hired is that onboarding phase, right? It's just another customer touch point, if you want to, relate in those terms, is that's one of the biggest places the ball gets dropped next, is the actual onboarding. Come to so many organizations that have been in business for decades. They have, dozens, if not almost 100 employees, and they have no formalized like SOP of for this position in this day, they're going to do this, this, and this, and this with this person, this person, this person. Nothing exists, right? Even if it's a title, right? If, it's different people rotate in and out, they don't have any formalized way of onboarding that person. And so, okay, great. You sold them enough. They did the application. They went through the interviews. They jumped through all those hoops. They finally said yes to choosing you to give their time up for money. And now you're dropping the ball because they're coming in day one and they're either going to have to drudge through a bunch of paperwork, hope they stay awake during all these boring presentations about the company, and then maybe finally get to interact with someone that actually is going to be a part of their day-to-day work to really get them, their hands on it, right? Because we don't like to be preached at. We don't want to sit and just watch stuff for the sake of watching it. What does it mean to me? How is this going to help me? And how am I going to be able to start getting my hands on something? Because especially when the fields, the trades with the field positions, I mean, that's what we're going to be doing anyways. We want to get out there, but we also don't want to get thrown out to the lions. So there's definitely a balancing act of the strategic coordination of that in the regular day-to-day production. I mean, because life can't stop because we've hired someone new, but we also can't make it like they don't exist when they come in on board. Like, all right, here's your gun and helmet, get to work, like getting the battle still going on. You're part of it now. That's not the most welcoming feeling.
Yeah, I mean, and it's so true because we've all been in organizations where it's like, no, you can tell nobody really has time for you, but
Right.
it's like we got to onboard you. So we've printed out a bunch of stuff. We got some
Here, do
videos
it
queued up over
yourself.
there. We'll talk to you at lunch. If you get done early, let me know. And that's like the super awkward thing. And I learned for people out there listening, if you haven't read the book Fans First by Jesse Cole, founder of the Savannah Bananas, they talk about a lot about the first impression, right? Not only of your customers, but of your employees too. That first day of onboarding, so many people go home. It's like, hey, Cliff, how was your first day? And Cliff's like, it sucked. Like, I watched videos, looked at paper, signed a bunch of documents. Nobody talked to me. I brought my lunch, ate it by myself, and then at 3 o'clock, they were kind of tired of me and sent me home. So um, you hit the nail on the head with all the onboarding and what are the bottlenecks there. So we start to figure that out. You're big on bottlenecks. I've picked that up. You've said the
Yeah.
word bottleneck a lot. we've got we've got recruiting, we've got training, and we sort of hit on retaining when it's starting this whole cycle of it's got to be a cool
Right.
place to work. But we lose a lot of people before we can even have them talk about how cool it is. So
Yeah.
you probably see it those first 90 days. I forget who I was listening to, but it was like a year ago. And they're like, hey, next time you send out all your W-4s or whatever at the end, when you get all your W-2s, when you get your W-2s and just disperse them all, look
Yep.
how many W-2s most companies send out versus how many people are actually working there. And it's like 8
Mm,
people work here and we send out 24 W-2s. That means 16 people didn't make it. So
yeah, a lot of churn.
when it comes to retaining, what are the biggest things we're missing from day one to like, okay, this person's in it and they love it?
They've got to make it about the employee, and that goes back to the recruiting, even the screening, the onboarding, and can dive a little bit more into the training in terms of building a career for them, building them opportunities, so it doesn't have to feel like a dead end job. Even if there is a legitimate ceiling to that position, it doesn't mean you have to just keep it the way it's always been. Make it built out where there's more opportunity for growth, especially with the younger generations. They want to explore, they want to grow, and they kind of want to do it their own way, but they also need guidance on, well, can I do this? Is this even worth my time, or am I going to get my hand slapped? So it's all those points. Going back to it is making it about the employee. One of the biggest things we emphasize when it comes to going back to recruiting is personality assessments. Why? It's not just about a culture fit for the company so we can pass or fail someone because they're not ideal to us. It's who are you as a person? Who do you want to become? And how is the company that you're going to be spending most of your lifetime at, hopefully, or at least your work days, right? How's that going to develop you? And so that goes into the retaining part too on the skills and training, because we want to look at that. We don't want you to stay where you're at today. We want to see you grow in even 30, 60, 90, 180 days and then into years after that. So you got to make it about them, number one.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a recurring theme, but I really like your idea of having, multiple, say you run a plumbing company and you've got, service technicians out there, creating multiple levels of them. So when someone starts as an apprentice, they know the path to service manager or
Yep.
wherever they want to go, wherever they want to take it. So they know, okay, cool, I'm going to be an apprentice. Then I can be on the install team, and then I can be a junior service tech, and then I can be a service tech, and then I can be a field supervisor. Then I can be a service like painting that picture, because I think historically in the trades it's just like I'm just an electrician or I'm just a plumber or I
Right.
just cut grass, but it's more than that because you're within an organization ideally that people can build careers with, because most people listening to this podcast, they're forward thinking, they're growth, they got growth mindset and they want to continue to scale. In
Yep.
order to continue to scale, we need leaders, we need people that want to move up. So with all the things we've talked about, what did we miss? What are a couple things out there that our listeners should know that we haven't hit on yet?
I mean, I think one of the biggest things is they miss the job descriptions and going back to what you said, 30, 60, 90 days is performance reviews. The hell are we even talking about? When do we meet? Why are we meeting? And what's the follow-up steps from there? I think that's the biggest failure of management once they've brought somebody on board finally, is they literally don't know what to do with the person. And then they act surprised why the person feels like, why should I invest in this company? I'm just kind of here, whether you want to call it quiet quitting or whatever. They're just surviving because you haven't even clarified to them what they should be doing. I mean, I found it so many times when I used to be an employee, I hated it. I didn't know if I was doing right or doing wrong. I did my basic tasks for the day, but then I had this kind of open-endedness of finding areas to improve things or do extra work, personally because I was bored out of my mind on some tasks. And so, but nothing was reflected in job performance, and nothing was, really set on, okay, well, if you want to actually make more money next time, this is what you have to do. It was pretty much like, hey, thanks for being here. Here's your 50 cent, expected raise like everybody else. No, it's a killer. And you're probably never going to gain their trust back after that. So yeah, big thing on performance reviews.
Yeah, and it's so true because we need to know what success looks like. Our team needs to know what success looks like, and then they need to know how to achieve that success through the training.
Yep.
Like, hey, I want to be the top performing service tech. What are the measurables? What
Yep.
does my
How do I
closing
go
rate
get it?
need to be? What does my average ticket need to be?
Yep.
How many callbacks can I have? And then to your point, how can I actually do that? Where do I need to go learn? Who do I need to follow? All this kind of stuff. Because a lot of times we'll bring people in and be like, all right, you're a service tech. Here's how you do your job. This is
Yep.
kind of what we expect. But then there's no accountability. So then you're right. They're like, it's almost that awkward silence, walking on eggshells. Like, I don't want to talk to my manager and ask him because maybe it's a dumb question. Maybe I missed it. But like, what does
Yeah.
success look like? So you had also mentioned job description. I think that's another powerful thing that we can kind of dive into real quickly is, we go set up Indeed and they kind of give you a template of like, this is what your job description should say.
Right. Or
You
AI
need
knows.
you need a high school degree, you need 2 years of experience, you need to be able to lift 50 pounds, you need to be able to drive a car, clean background, all that. But that's what everybody says. What are some things that you've seen, or even just like one main thing that you've seen kind of help with job descriptions to get the attention of people we're looking for?
So I think one of the biggest things I've noticed it more predominantly with the companies that are either were startups trying to hire their first tech, or mom and pop company, and they're trying to get their first W-2 because they've had subs, now they need an office assistant or whatever. Is it's the most critical thing is, well, what's the next step? And I say, well, what's on your plate right now? It's overflowing, so let's figure out what's on your plate, but then let's put those job descriptions in order of priority. I said, don't just jump all this stuff up and then throw it on a job description and then hope that this employee's like, oh, that's what I'm doing first, assumably, because it's the first thing I read. And then they start the job and they find out number 29 was the actual thing that they're going to do most of the day. And they're like, oh, I was not expecting that. And then it's not helping the owner because it's like, well, crap, I really want you. I wish you knew how to do this better than this. Like, well, you gave me this whole list. So once again, simplify it. Even if they have that position has like 45 different tasks, you're being hired to do these 15 right now. Your pay raise is going to be these other 15. Your next pay raise is going to be these other 15. So you have opportunity for growth, but you're making it very, very focused on what they need to do today to help you out the most. So I found that helps the business owner know who to look for, what to really press on in the interviews of their competency and their experience, even like, some practical example questions. But then the opportunity for growth in the company and positionally, like you were talking about, looking at like an org chart. Okay, if I have this person now to do this, this frees up me to do this or me to hire someone else for this. It just helps clarify everything for everybody. And like you said, they're going to feel a lot more confident that, oh, I am doing the right thing and I know where I need to develop myself too. It's a lot clearer now.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because I've seen that a lot when people are looking to hire someone for their office. Say they're looking to hire their
Mm-hmm.
first person to answer, do the CSR work, do the dispatch work,
Yeah.
and occasionally, maybe once a month, post on social media. But like their priorities, like when they list them out, it'd be like, manage the social media account, answer the phone, dispatch. People don't even know what dispatch means. Well, they'll put that there
Yep.
and do some bookkeeping, all these things. And then all of a sudden the person gets there and it's like, well, where's all this social media work? That's kind of what I'm good at. It's like, oh, we only do that like once a month just so people know we have a pulse. So it's funny you mentioned it because it does happen a lot. Like our first hire, they have to be able to do a lot of things, but they're
Yes.
probably doing half of their days probably doing one thing, answering calls,
Yeah.
booking jobs, that type of stuff. So
More hours. Yep.
so out of all the things we've talked about, Cliff, we talked about a lot. I want our listeners to be able to take action within the next 24 hours to move their business forward just a little bit. If we can get 1% better every day, we're going to crush it. So, what is one thing our listeners can do within the next 24 hours to move their business forward, whether it's recruiting, retaining, training, all the things that we talked about?
Oh man, there's so many, but I feel like whether they are hiring their first employee or they have a team of employees, they got to get their ducks in a row. And when I say that, I mean, first things first is what the current responsibilities for their employees, the biggest priorities, the biggest needle movers. If it's not, we need to reassess their job description. And it's not a chance so we can lower their pay or fire them or anything, nefarious like that. It's just, are we giving them the biggest responsibilities that can really move the company forward and reward them for doing that? And if not, if there's not a current employee, are we going to pave the way for the right first new hire? Like you said, especially we all know for all of us that have started and grown businesses, and for me repeatedly, that first hire is the make or break hire. that person can either free up your time or suck up your time. And so if you don't have the priorities in line, they don't know any better. They're going to listen to you like the source of truth. You have to know that everything's in order. So I believe looking at the priorities of the big needle movers in the business, what's going to bring in the money, what's going to save you the most time so you can go bring in more money, whatever that looks like, that's the thing that you need to delegate as quickly as possible, and prioritize that for that next hire. I think that's one of the biggest things anybody can do. So if they're investing in their first employee or their next hire, doesn't matter. That person's got to give you, whoever, to go get the business that time to go get more business. And then it'll just compound from there. I think that's one of the best things they could do.
Love it. And yeah, a lot of times we just don't take the time to sit and think about that stuff and write out, what do we really need? What, if we fix this one thing, what could move the needle the most, whether freeing up time or making money? A lot of times we're kind of in that survival mode. Clif Savage, thanks again for coming on the show, sharing your journey and providing a ton of actionable advice and insight and wisdom for all the blue collar business owners out there as we continue on our journey to prosperity. Before we sign off, Cliff, though, where can our listeners go to keep in touch with you and learn more about all the services you offer?
The best place is our homepage on our website, serviceleadersystems.com, because then we'll have pages so they can look at our recruiting services, our training services, and then even download a free workbook to help them assess where they're at currently with their recruiting, onboarding, and training.
Awesome, Cliff. Serviceleadersystems.com. Go there, guys. Cliff, thank you so much again for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.